Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most enduring questions. Why did the Titanic sink? We all know the basic story, it hit an iceberg. But what many people don't realize is that the ship received multiple specific warnings about ice in its path. So how could this unsinkable ship, equipped with the latest technology of its time, sail directly into a known disaster? The answer is far more complex than just a simple mistake. It's a story of ambition, outdated regulations, and a chain of fatal misjudgments. Let's set the scene. It's April 1912. The RMS Titanic is the largest, most luxurious ship ever built, a floating palace making its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City. On board are some of the wealthiest people in the world, as well as hundreds of immigrants seeking a new life in America. The atmosphere is one of excitement and triumph. The White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic, was competing fiercely with its rival Cunard. They wanted to prove that their Olympic-class liners were not only the most luxurious, but also reliable and fast. This pressure to maintain a high speed and arrive in New York ahead of schedule would become a critical factor in the tragedy. Over the course of April 14th, the day of the collision, the Titanic's wireless radio operators received at least 6 distinct messages from other ships, all warning of sea ice, icebergs and growlers, smaller chunks of ice, directly in their path. The first warning came in the morning. Others followed throughout the day. One of the most crucial warnings came from a ship called the Mesaba, which pinpointed a large field of heavy pack ice and numerous large icebergs right on the Titanic S route. This message was handed to the radio room, but here's where the first major breakdown occurred. The Titanic's senior wireless operator, Jack Phillips, was overwhelmed. The Marconi wireless system was a novelty, and for many wealthy first-class passengers, it was like a new toy. They were sending personal messages, what we might call telegrams, to friends and family on shore. These messages were profitable for the Marconi company, and the operators were under pressure to clear the backlog. When the vital Mesaba warning came in, Phillips was busy handling this passenger traffic. He acknowledged the message, but according to testimony, he simply set it aside. It was never delivered to Captain Smith or the other officers on the bridge. A direct warning about a massive ice field just sat on a desk, unseen by the very people who needed to see it most. Then, just about an hour before the collision, another ship, the SS Californian, sent an even more urgent message. Its radio operator, Cyril Evans, tried to warn the Titanic that they were stopped and surrounded by ice, but he used an informal, a loud signal that interrupted Jack Phillips, who was still trying to transmit passenger messages to the Cape Race relay station. Frustrated, Phillips famously replied, shut up, I am busy, I am working Cape Race." Following protocol for the time, the Californian's operator then turned off his wireless set for the night and went to bed. This meant the closest ship was now out of communication, completely unaware of the disaster that would unfold just minutes later. So, why the focus on speed? Captain Edward Smith was a veteran commander, highly respected. He was under immense implicit pressure to make a grand, swift entrance into New York. The White Star Line's chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, was also on board. While there's no definitive proof he directly ordered the captain not to slow down, his very presence likely created an unspoken expectation to maintain course and speed. In the maritime culture of that era, it was common practice for North Atlantic liners to continue at high speed through known ice zones, relying on lookouts to spot danger in time. Captains believed that any iceberg large enough to cause significant damage would be seen far enough in advance to avoid it. This was a fatal assumption. The night of April 14th was unusually calm. The sea was described as being like a sheet of glass. While this might sound peaceful, it was actually a terrible condition for spotting icebergs. Normally, waves would break against the base of an iceberg, creating a line of white foam that lookouts could see from a distance. On this moonless, windless night, the dark iceberg was practically invisible against the black, still water. To make matters worse, the ship's lookouts, Frederick Fleet, and Reginald Lee were missing a crucial piece of equipment, their binoculars. The binoculars were locked in a cabinet, and the key had been accidentally taken ashore by an officer who was transferred off the ship just before it sailed. They had to rely on the naked eye. At 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet finally saw it, a dark mass dead ahead. He rang the warning bell 3 times and telephoned the bridge, shouting the chilling words, "Iceberg, right ahead." First Officer William Murdoch, who was on duty, immediately ordered the ship hard a starboard, which in modern terms means turn the wheel all the way to the left. He also signaled the engine room to reverse the engines. This seemed like the logical thing to do, but modern analysis suggests this might have been the wrong move. The turn was slow, and reversing the massive propellers may have actually hindered the rudder's effectiveness, making the turn even wider. Instead of a head-on collision, which the Titanic was likely designed to survive, the iceberg scraped along the ship's starboard side. It wasn't one single gash, as often depicted in movies. The iceberg buckled the steel plates below the waterline, popping rivets and opening up seams across 5, possibly 6, of the ship's 16 watertight compartments. This is the crucial detail. The Titanic was designed to stay afloat with up to 4 of its forward compartments flooded. The designer, Thomas Andrews, who was on board, quickly assessed the damage. When he realized that 6 compartments were taking on water, he knew the ship's fate was sealed. The weight of the water in the bow would pull the front of the ship down, causing water to spill over the top of the watertight bulkheads, one by one, like water filling an ice cube tray. He gave the ship about 2 hours before it would founder. The sinking of the Titanic wasn't caused by one single failure, but by a perfect storm of them. The pressure to maintain speed in a competitive market. The dismissal of critical ice warnings due to overwhelmed radio operators. An outdated belief that ships could outmaneuver icebergs. Unusually calm and dark sea conditions. A missing key for the lookout's binoculars. And finally a glancing blow that breached more watertight compartments than the ship could handle. Each of these was a link in a chain of events that led to the deaths of over 1,500 people. The tragedy served as a massive wake-up call for the entire maritime industry. In the aftermath, sweeping changes were made. The International Ice Patrol was established to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic. Ships were required to have enough lifeboats for every single person on board, a regulation that was shockingly not in place for the Titanic. And radio communications were mandated to be a 24/7 operation, prioritizing distress calls above all else. The unsinkable Titanic became a permanent, humbling lesson in the dangers of overconfidence and the importance of heeding warnings. It's a story that, over a century later, still reminds us of the delicate balance between human ambition and the unforgiving power of nature. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into history. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more explorations into the past. Let me know in the comments what historical event you'd like me to cover next. Until then, stay curious.